the struggle is real. It's me versus me, the struggle is real. Why don't you choose yourself? Choose yourself right now. It's me versus me, the struggle is real. The struggle is real. Hi everybody, and welcome to Series 2, Episode 3 of It's Me versus Me Life Change Challenge. This has already turned into an exciting series, and we've only just begun. On Series 2, Episode 1, Vaughn Cox talked to us about being the temple of God. That led us into a conversation with Jesse Goolish from Celebrate Recovery on Series 2, Episode 2. Jesse talked to us about the spiritual aspects of eating disorders and addictions. If you have not watched those episodes or just need a refresher, now is a great time to check us out on YouTube at It's Me versus Me TV. Also, don't miss us on the Now Network every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We are reaching out past our little corner of the world to help anyone around the world interested in its Me versus Me Life Change Challenge. This week we are going to shift in a slightly different direction with our new anonymous participant, presenting to you a case study of her diagnosis, prognosis, and her progress. So as we follow with her medical team and treatment, along with our It's Me versus Me 3D Psycho scanner to measure her fat percentage, muscle percentage, and BMI. So let's get started. Now our case study follows the journey of a lady in her 40s who at her highest weight was 330 pounds. She found herself faced with a prognosis of no more than 9 to 10 years to live, especially if she didn't change her living habits. She has a history of GERD, which is gastric reflux, Nissen fundoplication to relieve the GERD symptoms in her esophagus, RA or rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, and osteoarthritis. Now we all know that there are certain diseases associated with obesity, like diabetes, and then you've got heart disease. We all know about that one. We're going to put the big D right here for heart disease. Okay, and then we got stroke, and we got certain cancers, like breast, and then we've got adenocarcinoma of the esophagus. Wow, that was a big one. Colon. Now again, we're talking about obesity. Rectum. And then we got the uterus. Uterus. Okay. Gallbladder. There you go. Upper stomach. Pancreas, and we'll put it over here. Pancreas. And then you've got thyroid. I didn't even know all the obesity causes this. Kidneys. What have we been doing to ourselves? Multiple myeloma. And then we've got the ovaries, cancer of the ovaries. Now these are all cancers associated with obesity. It doesn't mean everybody that gets them is obese, but the percentages are greater. Meningioma, and then liver. So all the cancers, all these cancers particularly associated with obesity breast adenocarcinoma of the esophagus, colon, rectum, uterus, gallbladder, upper stomach, pancreas, thyroid, kidneys, multiple myeloma, ovaries, meningioma, and the liver. Now, these 13 cancers make up 40% of the cancers diagnosed in the U.S. each year. Wow. And so some digestive problems that we have with obesity, some other problems that we have with obesity, and I'm going to erase these because we're just going to make sure we go over everything. You've got digestive problems, and then you've got sleep apnea. How many people do you know that's on BiPAP or CPAP because they have a hard time breathing when they're asleep? And most of the time, I'm not saying all the time, very rarely do you find somebody that's thin, that's healthy, that's on this. Osteoarthritis, high blood pressure. These are some complications from obesity. High cholesterol, and we've already talked about all this. And then we've got gallbladder disease. A lot of people get their gallbladder taken out when they're obese. And fatty liver disease. Fatty liver. Now, cirrhosis of the liver. So we're gonna talk tonight about certain kinds of issues. We're not going to go through over all of them, but what we are going to go over is fatty liver disease and cirrhosis of the liver. Now, I can remember years ago, I've been told I had a fatty liver. I've had CAT scans done, and it'll come back saying fatty liver. I never realized that a fatty liver and how it could actually, I've never had anybody say, hey, you need to get this fatty liver under control. So I've just never even thought about it. So now our case study tonight are about these particular diseases right here. And it has everything to do with these. And cirrhosis of the liver and all that. So now we're going to break down exactly what cirrhosis of the liver is and how it drastically affects a person's life and longevity. So watch these PowerPoint slides right here. Now, what is cirrhosis? It's the severe scarring or fibrosis of the liver. It happens in the late stages of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and other conditions that involve liver damage. Now, what this is actually saying is, and we're going to go over some slides as well, but we're going to kind of get lost if I don't start with this first. The fatty liver. What happens if you got a bunch of extra fat that gets accumulated in your liver and surrounds all your liver cells, these fatty cells surround all your liver cells, and it basically causes a scarring. Now, a lot of people look at cirrhosis as only drinking issues, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a fatty liver that causes cirrhosis of the liver. And so what it does is the body continually tries to repair the injury to the liver, and it continually makes scar tissue. And once the scar tissue gets so drastic, then actually the liver is replaced by scar tissue. And the liver is hugely important to the way that our body functions. So going back to our PowerPoint slide, slide number 4, we need our liver. The liver is an organ that sits just underneath the rib cage, and that would be under your right rib cage. Sometimes when people have gallbladder issues or liver issues, they have the pain right here and right up in this area right here. And so it's up in the right hand corner of the abdomen. It aids in digestion, rids the body of waste products, and makes substances called clotting factors that keep the blood flowing well. It is responsible for protein synthesis and the storage of vitamins and minerals. It stores iron and copper. It plays a role in breaking down conjugated bilirubin and conjugates it. In short, you cannot live without your liver. You cannot live without your liver. Now, what causes liver damage? Overuse of Tylenol, and you'll see this on your PowerPoint, but I'm going to write it on here anyways. Overuse of Tylenol, parasites, and then we've got viruses. Y'all have heard of hepatitis. You got hepatitis A, B, C, E, and there's several others. A and E come from food. B and C are basically blood. Some can be contact, things like that. So hepatitis can be contact too, so you got to be careful about that. Contaminated food and long-term alcohol use causes liver damage as well. So what happens with alcohol use, your body's constantly trying to repair itself, and it's not the fatty liver issue, but what it is the sclerotic issue. It just scars and scars and scars. And actually, the scarring tissue replaces the good tissue where the liver cannot function to digest your foods, make the clotting issues. There's just so much more that it does. That's so very important. Now, hopefully that's an easy way to understand cirrhosis. But right now we're going to dive a little bit more into the fatty liver, which is huge. Again, if you've been told you have a fatty liver or you've got some liver enzymes that are out of whack when you get your blood draw, usually hopefully every year you get one of those, then you really need to be thinking about your diet and your overall health, because those are warning signs that you need to be cautious about. All right, so what we're going to talk about now is what is fatty liver disease. Fatty liver disease, D for big D, big D. It's a buildup of fat in the liver. The NAFLD is a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is commonly seen in people who are overweight or obese. So NAFLD is non-alcoholic. So if you ever hear somebody that's got cirrhosis or something, you always think, oh, they must be an alcoholic. If they're obese, that might not be true. Even if they're not obese, you might be mistaken and thinking that that's all that causes cirrhosis, but it does not. And then we got simple fat, another part of fatty liver disease. You've got simple fat in the liver called steatosis, and that's an interesting word, steatosis. So it's just simple fat in the liver. And when fat and inflammation is involved, the term hepatitis is added to form steatohepatitis, also known as NASH, N-A-S-H, which is non-alcoholic. And so we're going to do this right here. So NASH stands for non-alcoholic let me really figure out how to spell this. Yeah, steatohepatitis. Now, if we're looking at words, hepatitis, something like that, hepatitis, there. Okay, so when you're breaking down, if you're in the medical field and you have this itis thing going on, that means inflammation of hepat, always means liver, and the steato is also means fat. So you've got a fatty liver with inflammation. That's what that's called right there. Now, when it gets into the NASH, if you've just got a fatty liver, that's really a warning sign that you need to do something different. Now, whenever you get into the NASH, that's where you got to be really watching out about what you're doing. Some of the things that you will be told to do, the very first thing you will be told to do probably is to lose weight. Now I'm going to say this right here. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse practitioner. I am an RN, and I've just done my research to look at how all this plans out and plays out. So just want you to know that NASH is very important. And so how does a fatty liver turn into cirrhosis? That would be your next slide. Once the liver becomes scarred or crisscrossed with cirrhosis, it stops functioning as well. It may take up to 30 years to progress. So the typical age for diagnosis of cirrhosis is usually 60. Now our case study tonight is a lady in her 40s. Now think about that. It takes about 30 years to turn this into crisscrossing and scarring to cirrhosis level, because you have to go through the fatty liver first, and you have to go to the NASH the second, and then you get to the cirrhosis. So if you think about it, our case study tonight is a woman in her 40s. Our participant is an anonymous participant. She does not want to be shown on TV. She doesn't want to be told her name, and that's totally okay. And so what we're going to do is honor that, and I asked her if she would allow us to share her story, because it would help so many other people. Because her thing was, when she found out that she had cirrhosis of the liver, she had to figure out what she could do to stop it, how she could fix it, what can she do from here, what could she have done then. And so we're going to go on and learn a little bit more about it. So what are the signs and symptoms of cirrhosis? Now she had NASH first, and being the non-alcoholic inflammation of the liver, if you will, a fatty liver and inflammation of the liver. Now the signs and symptoms of cirrhosis, you're going to see those on the screen, is the yellowing of the skin and whites of the eyes become yellow, and that's called jaundice. I know you've probably seen some babies that have jaundice because their bilirubin and stuff gets too high when they're born, and so they have to put them in the sunlight and all that stuff, and that's kind of the same lines. For children, it's not the same reason. They have belly pain and swelling. Now remember, with a fatty liver, there are no signs and symptoms. Basically, you just don't even know you have it unless you have labs done and things like that. You have swelling in the legs and ankles. You have itchy skin, not always, but sometimes you do. Dark urine, pale stools, and that would be your BMs would be not the right color. So when you're having your BMs, you need to look at them and see what colors they are. What's the consistency? And I know this is a weird thing to talk about on a fitness show, but you really need to keep up with that, because you can tell a lot of things about your stool. You can tell if you got pancreatitis, which is inflammation of the pancreas. You can tell if you've got some kind of bleeding in there because of colon cancer, or some kind of a rectal issue, rectal cancer, things like that. You will have a different color stool. And sometimes your consistencies will be different. Are your stools the same size, or are they, pencil thin? Are they diarrhea, or are they whatever? So you really need to be watching for those things. And again, these are some signs and symptoms of cirrhosis. You're constantly tired. Well, that's probably most of us. Nausea or vomiting, loss of appetite, and then bruising. So with the bruising comes a lot of problems with your clotting factor, with your liver failure, if you will. And some other signs and symptoms, you have weight loss. Now in our case study, our lady, her highest weight was 330. And she has been trying to lose weight for a long time and never could. And so when she got diagnosed with NASH and then cirrhosis, they told her, you have to lose weight. So she started going on a keto. She went on calorie counting. That didn't work. None of that worked. Then they sent her to Nashville Weight Loss, and anything that they did for her didn't work. They put her on Ozempic, which is our Amber, little girl Amber that was on here that lost so much weight with Ozempic. She never lost a pound on that. And what they figured out is because her cirrhosis was so bad, that she could not lose weight because her body could not utilize the fats like it needed to and the breakdown of all the stuff, and therefore it didn't matter what she did, she could not lose weight. That's a very interesting thing to see with this, because with anything you have, most anything you have, cancer, whatever, you know, some of the very first signs and symptoms are weight loss. Diabetes, one of the very interesting signs and symptoms of diabetes is weight loss. And the reason why you lose weight with diabetes, your sugars get so high, your body breaks down your muscle and things like that, so you lose weight, and it feels like that you're doing a good thing, but you don't know why you're losing weight. So if you are in a situation where you're losing weight for no reason, you might want to look at your diabetes issue, where your A1C is, you know, get your labs done and get that drawn and see how that's doing. But if you're losing weight for no reason, you're just doing your same old thing, maybe you have less appetite or whatever, you think, oh, I'm just cutting back. You could very well have a cirrhosis issue, you could have a diabetes issue, you could have a cancer issue. So read your body. When your body is not the same and it starts changing for no reason, no apparent reason, and you think, oh, I'm doing great, I'm looking good, I'm losing my weight. Really, are you losing weight, or are you losing muscle? Are you losing something else that you need? So these are some things you need to be careful about. But one of the signs and symptoms of this cirrhosis is weight loss. So she did not have this problem. Fluid accumulation in the abdomen, this is called ascites. That's what this word is. So a lot of people who have cirrhosis have these big, huge abdomens, and they have to get this drawn off with a needle. This ascites accumulates actually in the lining in your abdomen, and what it does is it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you have to take it out with the needle, and you can't breathe when you have this. And why I'm telling you that, I'm not trying to scare you. Cirrhosis is no joke. I've seen many people die from cirrhosis in my RN career, and it is a sad thing to watch everything that happens with that. So you got spider-like vessels on your skin. You have redness in the palms of your hands. Pale fingernails, especially the thumb and index. Now everybody's looking down at their thumb and index, right? Pale fingernails, especially the thumb and index. How interesting. Clubbing of the fingernails, in which the fingertips spread out and become rounder than usual. You can look at people's fingernails and tell a lot about them. Well, especially if they just wash their hands or not, right? So women, that was a joke. Absence of or loss of periods that aren't related to menopause. Now, of course, the average age of cirrhosis being 60, this might not be a problem. But this lady's in her 40s, and it could have very well been a sign and symptom. But you start going through the menopause changes around, the late 40s and 50s. So it might be something that you think is normal that wasn't normal for her. Maybe, I don't know if that was a problem. And then men, loss of sex drive, your testicular shrinkage or breast enlargement, and this is known as gynecomastia is what that's called, when men develop breast tissue. So this might be a sign and symptom of some cirrhosis as well. So if you start men can get breast cancer too, so that's another thing. On men's health, and we don't talk about men's health hardly at all ever. We always talk about women. But right now, you need to be checking for testicular nodules and things like that. And if you develop any kind of drainage from your nipple, or you start getting a swollen breast tissue, you really need to think about these things. It could be breast cancer. When I was doing chemo nursing in California, we took care of a guy with breast cancer, and he did really well. He had to take all the treatments that the women took, and of course there was nothing to really, I don't know if they did a lumpectomy, I can't remember all that, but yeah, men get breast cancer too, so these are some things to think about. Men's health, very important. Some of the other signs and symptoms in your late stages are confusion, drowsiness, and slurred speech. And these are, they're just a complication from the byproducts of what the liver was supposed to be clearing out and couldn't clear out. So when we talk about, the high blood pressure in veins that supply the liver, and let's talk about that. So this condition is called portal hypertension. So if we got our stomach here, right, yay, for my shoe, your pancreas sits here, and this is left, and then on the right, you've got your liver and your gallbladder that sits around right in here. Your gallbladder is behind your liver, and then of course your small intestines, and then your large intestines, and then out to the rectum. So your liver sits about right here. And what happens in the portal hypertension, which is actually what causes the ascites and different things like that, you've got your liver. That's supposed to, you've got a hepatic vein that comes here, portal vein, excuse me, and it comes into the liver where the liver can do all of its stuff. And because of the sclerosis, the hardening of, or the cirrhosis area, and I call it sclerosis because sclerosis means hardening to me, but the cirrhosis actually hardens this liver right here. And then when the blood tries to get back up into the liver, it doesn't have anywhere to go. So what it does, it causes a back pressure right here. And this back pressure is what causes a lot of the ascites, which is swelling in the abdomen. It causes, I was watching a thing where it talks about because the blood can't get to the liver, it makes all these new collateral circulations and things and all these blood vessels. And because of it can't get through here, so it just has to go somewhere. It's like, to me, a pond running over, if you will, and it just makes new channels. So what it does here, and because these don't route through the liver, these blood vessels go into all kinds of areas, but not through the liver. And because the liver cleans out our byproducts, our toxins, if you will. And so what happens there is because the liver becomes hard, it doesn't have any circulation because it becomes scarred. And that's called fibrosis. That's another word we didn't go over yet. So the fibrosis actually is the scarring of the tissue in the liver. And then it becomes hardened into cirrhosis. So whenever all this stuff backs up and the liver cannot clean out all the toxins that it needs to, it can't help with digestion, so you don't get to absorb all the nutrients, you become malnutrition, things like that. So it backs up, it causes the ascites. And then what it can cause too is in your brain, it can cause you to be confused. That's a big thing, and just not acting right. So you have somebody that's got an enlarged abdomen. A lot of these people, I'm not going to the doctor. I don't want to go to the doctor. I'm not going to the doctor. But then all of a sudden you got this belly that's huge, and you've got all kinds of these symptoms, and then all of a sudden they start being confused, and you think, oh, they have dementia or something like that, when it actually could be the liver is trying to clear out all the stuff and it can't. So what it does is it causes a brain effect, and it causes confusion. So with the legs, with the swelling, and on our slide number 15, well, not slide number 14, high blood pressure in the vein, this condition is known as portal hypertension. Cirrhosis slows the regular flow of blood through the liver. This increases pressure in the vein that brings blood to the liver. In the next slide, then you get swelling in the legs and abdomen. The increased pressure in the portal vein can cause fluid to accumulate in the legs, called edema. And in the abdomen, now let me tell you this, the edema in the legs, first thing you think of is congestive heart failure or some kind of heart issue. So we got to put two and two together and think maybe there might be something else that we need to look at. So on slide 15, we'll read this again, the increased pressure in the portal vein. And remember, the portal vein is going to the liver, back to the liver, to clear out all the toxins. It causes fluid to accumulate in the legs called edema, and in the abdomen called ascites. Edema and ascites also may happen if the liver can't make enough of certain blood proteins such as albumin. Now, albumin is a very interesting thing. I've given a lot of albumin in ICU because people, they swell up with what they call third spacing fluid. If you see somebody in the hospital or weeping, say they've got weeping legs, they call them weeping, where all the fluids accumulate in the third space, if you will. And a lot of times it's because they don't have enough protein, which is what it's talking about in here. The liver can't dump out the albumin. What albumin actually does, this is in the vein. This is the third space out here, if you will, make it easy. What albumin does is it causes a centrifugal force, and I don't know how it does it, but it does. And what it does is it pulls this fluid from the third space back into the vessels, so you don't have that swelling. That's how that works. A lot of times in ICU, we'll give albumin IV, and this will help pull the third spacing back in, and it pulls the excess fluid in. But when we talk about the liver makes that, and so when you have a cirrhosis of the liver, you'll have a lot of swelling all over, not just in your abdomen, but also in your legs and things like that, and that's caused sometimes by the albumin. Now, then it also causes enlargement of the spleen. Now, the spleen is a large organ over on the left side, and it's a lymph node. But what it does is it causes this the spleen, the portal hypertension. Remember, the portal vein that comes to the liver causes a portal hypertension, and then it causes the spleen to trap white blood cells and platelets that makes the spleen swell, a condition known as splenomegaly. Fewer white blood cells and platelets in your blood can be the first signs of cirrhosis. Now, we're going to talk about those. We need to really think about our weight issue, because this is really serious. So, with the spleen over here, it's white blood. It accumulates white blood cells, and it also, condition known as splenomegaly. The platelets become an issue, and platelets are used for clotting. So you've got a clotting issue with this issue. You've got a clotting issue because of the liver does a lot of that too, and then you got your white blood cells and everything accumulates. So I don't know if the spleen has pain or not. It would be interesting to know if somebody has splenomegaly, if they have pain in the left side as well. So if you've got pain in the left side, but you don't have pain in the right side, you might not think it's your liver. You might think it's something else. So I'm not sure about that. I have to look that one up. Now, another complication is bleeding with portal hypertension. Can cause blood to be redirected to smaller veins, and we talked about those veins, the collateral circulation, and it's strained by the extra pressure. These smaller veins can burst, causing serious bleeding. Portal hypertension may also enlarge veins called varices in the esophagus or the stomach, and these varices may lead to a life-threatening bleeding. And if the liver can't make enough clotting factors, this also can contribute to continued bleeding. So the varices, if you've ever seen a varicose vein in your leg, this is the esophagus that comes to the stomach, and you get all these varices in there, and they actually, I have seen several people with this particular situation that once they start throwing up blood like that, it's really hard to save them. It is a life-threatening issue when a varice from a portal vein or a liver issue busts, and it is really horrible. So these are some, I don't mean to psych you out or gross you out or anything like that, but this is real life right here. We're talking about real life, okay? Now, and also when it talks about the clotting factors that the liver helps make for the body, Once you have a vessel like that bleeds out, then you don't have any clotting. There's nowhere to go but down. That's the truth about that. It's really horrible. Some things, complications also are infections. If you have cirrhosis, your body may have a hard time fighting infections. And ascites can lead to bacterial peritonitis. Peritonitis is the itis, inflammation of the peritoneum, which is the abdominal lining. And this is a serious infection as well. It can cause malnutrition. Cirrhosis may make it more difficult for your body to process nutrients, leading to weakness and weight loss. Buildup of toxins in the brain, and we talked about that causing confusion. Right here, a liver damaged by cirrhosis can't clear toxins from the blood as well as a healthy liver can. These toxins can then build up in the brain and cause a mental confusion and difficulty in concentrating. This is known as hepatic encephalopathy. With time, hepatic encephalopathy can progress to unresponsiveness or coma. And people who have cirrhosis of the liver sometimes are on medications to help bring that ammonia level down. There are a lot of side effects to that treatment, but and I've seen that happen. It causes a lot of diarrhea and things like that for your body to have to get rid of this ammonia. And the ammonia is actually a normal breakdown of byproduct of proteins. And proteins are broken into amino acids. The amino acids are broken down into ammonia and urea. And this is where this accumulation happens. Slide number 21, increased ammonia levels it can increase it up to 54 to 112. Normal ammonia levels range from 15 to 60. So there are normal ammonia ranges because we constantly are breaking down proteins. One of the things that they tell you to do when you have a cirrhosis or you have an ammonia issue is they tell you to decrease your proteins. That's a big deal. Symptoms of high ammonia levels are confusion and disorientation, excessive sleepiness. These people are very sleepy. Changes in consciousness, mood swings, hand tremors, and coma. It's really a horrible thing to watch this right here. Again, we're talking about the complications of cirrhosis caused by the complication of a fatty liver, caused by a complication of obesity. Now, we're going to say that one more time. Cirrhosis can lead to death, which comes from the fatty liver, which comes from the obesity. Now, like I said, there's a lot of reasons why you have cirrhosis, but we're talking mainly about obesity. That's what we're talking about tonight. Jaundice, we talked about that, occurs when the diseased liver doesn't remove enough bilirubin, a blood waste product from your blood. Jaundice causes yellowing of the skin and whites of the eyes and darkening of the urine. And so if you're looking at somebody and you see somebody, that same person, I'm not going to go to the doctor, I'm just getting fat. Well, I just ate too much, I got indigestion. Well, what about the yellow in your eyes? Your sclerae are not white anymore. Your sclerae might be yellow. Or you might have a little yellow cast to your skin. These are some things, and people do not know that they have a problem until somebody points out, hey, your skin color looks weird. Have you been in the tanning bed lately? Have you get a spray tan lately? Or are you just tired, or your eyes really look weird? It can get so bad sometimes that you look at somebody with jaundice and you really it's really hard to even look at them sometimes because it makes it feel like it hurts. It hurts you. It hurts, you feel like they're in pain. It's just weird how it makes you feel that you want to hurt for them. You have an empathetic heart to say, your eyes are not the right color. Is there something I can do for you? What can we do to help you? And just so many things that and these people don't see it. They don't see it. It's really strange. Another thing that these people get is bone disease. Some people with cirrhosis lose bone strength and are at a greater risk of fractures. Wow. An increased risk of liver cancer from cirrhosis. That's another big deal. A large portion of people who develop liver cancer have pre-existing cirrhosis. Now, on acute chronic cirrhosis, some people end up experiencing multi-organ failure. Researchers now believe this is a complication in some people who have cirrhosis. However, they don't fully understand what causes that. Now, the question is, can the liver repair itself? The liver has the unique capacity to regenerate itself after damage. That's true. The liver can regrow to a normal size even after up to 90% of it has been removed. Many diseases and exposures can harm it beyond the point of repair, though, and that's where the problem lies with cirrhosis. Now, what foods can help your liver be in good repair? Grapefruit, blueberries, cranberries, fatty fish, olive oil, vegetables like broccoli and Brussels sprouts. And how much weight do you have to lose? If you're an obese person and you have a fatty liver and you've been diagnosed with cirrhosis, how much weight loss is needed to reverse some liver damage? At least 5% can improve your non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, that NAFLD. 7 to 10% will have some impact on NASH and fibrosis. Now, the NASH being the non-alcoholic, the fatty liver with inflammation. And fibrosis means, again, that the liver tissue has been scarred. That's what that means. And so we're going to go over right now, when we talk about our case study, I just want to go back to that for just a moment. So when we look at our case study of our person, our 40-ish-year-old female, 330 pounds starting out, so 40s. Average age for cirrhosis is 60. Her weight was 330 at the top. She had what they call a SATI procedure. And the SATI procedure is a procedure like the sleeve and the gastric bypass, and I'm going to show you that here in just a moment. So she had her procedure 3.5 weeks ago, and she's lost 30 pounds in 3.5 weeks. So now the thing about this is she can't eat and she can't drink. So she's really she's not eating and drinking, so she's lost 30 pounds so far. And when we go over the SATI procedure, you're going to see why. Like for instance, if you and me stopped eating and drinking, we probably wouldn't lose that much weight because we still have all of our stomach, we still have all of our small intestines and all that stuff. Well, what the SATI procedure does is it bypasses, it takes away a lot of the small intestines, so you don't utilize your nutrients and your fats like you used to. But the interesting thing about her is she could not lose weight. Now, interesting enough, people would say, she's gained so much weight, and you always think that it's because they're doing something wrong. Tonight we were going to talk about hormones and prednisone and things that keep us from losing weight. There are a lot of things that keeps us from losing weight, and her cirrhosis being her big thing. So, but we're going to go over her stuff a little bit more. All right. So we're going to talk about the SATI procedure right now. But first of all, I'm going to go over, I don't remember what episode it was in Series 1, but 11. So gastric bypass we went over. And gastric bypass, that was Randall Robertson. I got to make my shoe better. Okay. He had nope, this was Darlene. Darlene had the gastric bypass because part of her stomach just wasn't working, so they had to take it out. So what they did was they made her a little pouch right here, and then they bypassed all of this. They didn't take it out, they just bypass it. And then they hook it into the small intestines here. All right, that's what they did for Darlene. And she's lost nearly 100-something pounds in 1 year. 100 and nearly 200, I think. For Randall, her husband, he had the gastric sleeve. Now, remember the sleeve went like this. And this right here was anastomose. They call it anastomosis. They hooked it into the small intestines. They bypassed this connection right here, which is where a sleeve, it stays connected. So they staple this off right here, and none of this works anymore. And then they have this, and it connects to the same place. So basically what they do is they take this part of the stomach off and they make like a banana sleeve, they call it. Now for our case study, she had the SADI, S-A-D-I. And what that is they took her stomach like this, and then they made a gastric sleeve. Interesting enough, they put these two surgeries together, it looks like. They stapled all that off, they took that away. And then they hooked this in to, they took a lot of the small intestines off and disconnected those, and they hooked it into an area that that they could connect into the small intestines there too. So the interesting thing about that, at the end of your stomach, you got a pyloric sphincter right here, actually about right in here probably, and that actually keeps your stomach and lets it hold food. She got to keep our case study got to keep her pyloric sphincter. That's interesting. The sleeve guy did too, but not the gastric bypass for Darlene. But what happens when you take some of the small intestines out, from what I understand and reading on it, again, I'm not a doctor or nurse practitioner, this actually keeps you from absorbing nutrients and stuff. So it actually makes you lose weight faster, from what I understand, this procedure right here. And that was her procedure. So these are the 3 gastric bypass procedures that we want to talk about. So on our slide 33, who qualifies for a SADI procedure? Severely obese with a BMI of 40 or greater and with a minimum of 100 pounds. So not just anybody can have this. So you can say, oh man, I can't get this last 50 pounds off. You don't get to have it, nor do you want it if you don't need it, for sure. So what I want to talk to you about is, I'm looking for the fat percentage. I'm looking for her non-fat, if you will, percentage. And then her BMI. And I wrote it down, and I have no idea where it is. And it's right over there. Hang on, I'll be right back. Stay here, don't go away. All right. So, she started, and we did the STIKU scan on her that we do with the with our It's Me versus Me Life Change Challenge. So we did the STIKU scanner after 30 pounds of weight loss, because I just found her. And 2 days ago we did her, and she's lost 30 pounds in that 3.5 weeks. But her fat percentage at the beginning was 44.3% of her body. Fat percentage, 44.3%. All right, and then her non-fat percentage is, her fat mass. Sorry, that's not right. I didn't think that was right. 55.7%, and then her non-fat was 44.3%. So you look at this right here. fat percentage. That's why the Staiku scanner is so really cool, is because, and then it actually breaks down, I don't have that with me, the muscle mass itself. I don't have that with me at this point in time. And her BMI was 47.8 after 3.5 weeks of losing 30 pounds. Still her BMI, and we've talked about that in Series 1 in depth, was 47.8. Now, for somebody healthy, you want it under 25 BMI. In around 20 is a good goal if you really want to be really, really healthy. And a lot of people say, I don't care about the numbers. I've heard this for years. I don't care about the numbers. It doesn't matter to me. They just don't know that I got big bone structure. They don't know this. They don't know that. But the standard of care is that if your BMI is under 25%, you're a whole lot healthier than somebody who's got a BMI 47, okay? And you have to have some kind of a standard for anything, whether it be 87 gas or 93 gas. You have to have a standard of what that is. And the standard is around, 25 or below. Now, for somebody who works out all the time, has a BMI of 8, that's probably not good. So her BMI is 47, and so in order for her, if she ever has to have a liver transplant has to be under 35 BMI. They want it to shoot it for maybe 30 BMI. And so she's gearing for that. Now, what they told her whenever she was diagnosed with cirrhosis, and it was already advanced. So you're looking at her, this is what she told me. You're looking at her cirrhosis, and it was 40% non-working, if you will, liver, and 60% scarred already by the time she found it. Really no signs and symptoms at all. And so when you think about 40% of her liver is not working already, 60% is already scarred. And she says, what do I do now? They gave her a 9 to 10 year life expectancy. Again, she's in her 40s. That's huge, okay? And then she said, what do I do? This is what they said, lose weight. Lose weight. Did they give her any medicine? I don't think so. What she did was she presented to the ER, and ER, not saying which one, and they told her by CT scan she had diverticulitis, which is an issue in the intestines. And she got onto her portal and looked at her scan herself, and her scan told her that she had cirrhosis of the liver. By the time she found it herself. She found it in her report herself, and it says cirrhosis of the liver. And so they told her just to lose weight. And like I said, she went on the keto. She did the Ozempic. She did calories. She did everything. Couldn't lose it. And that's where we're at right here. And so she's really gotten serious about that. And she got the SADI procedure. So now we're going to go back to, and I just kind of took a little train of thought there. So in number 30 and 33, who qualifies for it? Again, we're going to go over that severely obese, known as class 3, with a BMI of 40 or greater, and that's where we got off of our little tangent, with a minimum of 100 pounds. So she's shooting for 180 pounds, and then her BMI will be at 28. So she's got, 180, so that's 300, 200, 120 more pounds to go, and then her BMI will be at 28. So if she ever had to have a liver transplant, she would be ready. And then why did they do that particular kind? It results longer lasting weight loss and less regain than any other types of bariatric surgery. And that's the reason probably why they picked that one. She said it's because she could lose weight faster. This is kind of what we looked it up. How does the SATI work? You know, it's got the sleeve, the gastrectomy with intestinal bypass to promote greater loss. Removes about 80% of the stomach to create a tube-shaped sleeve. It separates the top part of the small intestines just below the stomach, reattaches to the duodenum to the lower section of the small intestine, which shortens the intestines by about half and decreases your caloric absorption. What happens after surgery? Now, she has to, again, let's think about what happens here. We think all the chocolate and the ice cream that we eat is fun and games until you can't eat anything but drink out of a little medicine cup. 30 mils, 30 cc's, just a little medicine cup. And you can do only so many per hour. And mostly for her, it's just water right now still. She's tried the protein drinks. They're not working for her. But she looks great. I told her, you know, you look fantastic. Her skin is glowing and she moves like she hasn't had surgery. And they did hers laparoscopic. So that's a big deal too. They used to open people up and do these procedures, but now they don't, which is fabulous. And what happens after surgery? You need to follow certain nutritional guidelines from your bariatric team. They will provide specific instructions on how much protein and fluid you need. You will also need to take vitamins and supplements to prevent malnutrition. And she cannot do any of that yet either. And she has a lifelong follow-up care is required after the SATI surgery. She can't throw up or anything like that because she had that fundoplication where they take a muscle and they wrap around the esophagus so that you can't have the back pressure of GERD, gastric reflux. Now, benefits from the surgery, you're restricting your meal size, bypassing food away from the digestively active part of the gut, which improves metabolism. So that increases your metabolism. Triggers remission of conditions like type 2 diabetes, and remission means coming better. High blood pressure and obstructive sleep apnea in many people. And a lot of that is just because you lose weight. You're not obstructing your ability to sleep, things like that. In preserving the pyloric valve, which helps decrease bile reflux and stomach irritation. But also the pyloric valve that I was talking about, this little valve down here, this also, you know, it helps with so much stuff. But right here it says decreases bile reflux and stomach irritation, because when the bile reflux can come up into the stomach. But what it, what it helps with is dumping syndrome. So whenever you think about, oh, if I get so heavy, I can just have a surgery, and that's the easy way out. That's not the easy way out. Cutting back, pushing back, doing the things that we do on It's Me Versus Me. The dumping syndrome is where you don't have this pyloric area right here, this little valve, and so everything just goes straight through. So this is a big deal. Don't let that scare you though, because if you need it and you tried everything and you can't get the weight off, gastric bypass, sleeve, SATI might be right for you to talk to your medical people and find out if this is something, because you think about it. You've decided we all decide what we're going to eat, how we're going to live our life. Are we going to work out? Are we going to move? Are we going to do all that? We make those decisions. We've made a decision to be obese. We have made the decision to be obese. A lot of times the things that come about that we can't lose weight is because that happens when we become obese. Sometimes those are hormone related, that's true. Sometimes it's a prednisone issue, that's true. There's a lot of reasons why you gain weight and you don't, it's not because you don't cut back, it's just because you can't lose weight. And I'm not, those are some of the people too that you really need to talk to your physician and find out if this is right for you. before it becomes into a fatty liver disease or becomes into a cirrhosis. So these are some things to think about. Now, other benefits, let's see, decreases your appetite. And remember, right here, when they make this sleeve or they do the gastric bypass, this part right here, this fundus right here, that's what has the hunger hormone. So that's gone. So she doesn't even want any ice cream anymore. I don't know. That's really weird to her and me too. It decreases your appetite, eliminates dumping syndrome that is common with gastric bypass surgery. Avoiding glucose fluctuations after meals. In other words, your metabolism gets better, the way that your body utilizes its food gets better, and reduces the risk of gastric ulcers. Now, I thought that was interesting too. Well, the reason why is because it's got the pyloric sphincter still there, and that's the reason why that it doesn't do that. I'm sure. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a doctor, and I can't really promise you that. So I'm just going to kind of go over again what we talked about in our lady, our 40-year-old, 60-year-old, our 40-ish year old, 40, cirrhosis, 9 to 10 years, life expectancy in the 40s. And how do we combat that? Lose weight, eat properly, and try to salvage what liver we can. And this is huge. And she is doing everything that she can to get this under control. And I'm so proud of her. She is our newest participant on It's Me versus Me Life Change Challenge. I cannot wait to see what her STICU looks like. Her STICU scan looks like in 8 weeks. And then we'll do another one at 16 weeks. This is going to be the coolest thing to be able to see how, because on the STICU scan, it gives you the frontal picture, it gives you a side picture, a silhouette, it shows you different colors at different times so that you know how much you've lost, how many inches you've lost in certain areas, how much muscle mass you've lost or gained, how much fat you have lost, and it just completely gives you an overall of everything about your body. I just absolutely love it. To be able to do that for people is so exciting. Now, just want to say right now, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back, so don't go away. This video of what we had to eat this week is huge because we have had the greatest food this week and very healthy stuff. And so I just want you to see this. We actually get bigger portions of cabbage or whatever, and it looks big, but it's really awesome. And when you see the picture that looks like a steak, it is a piece of tuna. It is fabulous. So take a look at these pictures right here. Are you struggling with your weight? Do you feel like your health is starting to fail and the fight is just too hard? Well, you're not alone. Many people are fighting the same battle every day. Some win battles, but few win the war. And why is it so hard to win? Because you're fighting against someone who knows you very well, someone who knows your weaknesses and your faults. And who is this enemy? It's you. It's me. That's where It's Me versus Me Life Change Challenge comes in. What will it take for you to make the necessary changes to take your life back? You can either pay now or you can pay later. Through high-tech 3D body scanning, It's Me versus Me can help take the guesswork out of your fitness and weight loss goals through periodic measurement of your progress. Make the decision. If not now, then when? The struggle is real. So let's fight this battle together and be our best selves. I hope you enjoyed that. And that little video of where I was pulling that what looked like to be steak apart, that was a piece of tuna that we grilled. It was It even ate like steak. It even cut like steak. It was really weird. I don't know how Geri did that. Oh, by the way, on Geri's prognosis, Geri Lavelle, one of our participants who had her leg amputated 14 months ago, she's got to get some more amputated. So we're looking at a whole long time for her to be, to be rehabbed and get her prosthetic leg. So please be praying for her because she needs it, and our whole household needs it because it affects everybody, and so she really needs prayer for that. Now, on the other note, I want to say something that I forgot to tell you is for the transplant, the liver transplant, the reason why your BMI has to be less than 30, it reduces the chances of allograft failure and renal failure. So allograft being the transplanted liver, and you always have a chance of failure, whether it be a kidney transplant, a heart transplant. You always have to be on immune therapy where your body doesn't see that organ as a threat and it tries to kill that organ or get rid of it or dispose of it or whatever. So you always have to take medications that decreases the ability of your body to see that as a bad thing. But to get your BMI under 30 for a liver transplant, it reduces the chances of this failure of your liver, and then also renal failure being kidney. So these are the reasons why your BMI has to be under 30. And also, though, if you were 300 pounds, like when Geri needs to have her hernia fixed, her lumbar hernia from her wreck, she has to have a BMI under 30 because of the weight, the fatty tissue, the fatty stuff that's in there, and to get things and move things around and put things where it needs to be and pull things tight. It's really hard to do that. And you think about, all I can think about is I don't know if it was Bozo or whatever, where they used to take those big sacks and blow up the balloons and stick the sacks. Do you remember that? When you put the balloons in the sack and the sack gets bigger and bigger and bigger until it can't take anymore, and then they pop them. I don't know, but I wish we could pop fat cells like that, right? So, okay, now join us again next Sunday night. I hope you've enjoyed tonight. I hope you haven't been too bored. I hope that you realize that fatty liver is not anything to laugh about. It's not anything to snooze about. It's not anything to procrastinate about. It can develop into cirrhosis of the liver, which is lethal. So be cautious about what you do with yourself. And join us again next Sunday night at 8 p.m. with the newest episode of It's Me versus Me Life Change Challenge. And if you would like to become a part of Me versus Me, this is the second week in our series already. We've got 2 new participants. And we've got room for many more. But if you want to accept the challenge and you'd be interested in that Life Change Challenge, just contact me on www.itsmeversusme.tv. And if I don't get back to you, just call me at 731-924-9249. There are so many amazing reasons to get healthy. Let us help you reach that goal. And God bless you all. And until we meet again next Sunday, we say goodbye, God bless, good night, see you later, bye-bye. It's me versus me, the struggle is real. It's me versus me, the struggle is real. Why don't you choose yourself? Choose yourself right now. It's me versus me, the struggle is real.